Well, the City of Johannesburg Emergency Management Services has suspended its services to Cosmo City in the north of Johannesburg. This after ambulance personnel were attacked and their vehicles vandalized yesterday. The ambulance personnel was responding to an alleged assault case in the area, and the City of Johannesburg Emergency Services spokesperson Robert Mulaudzi joins me now in studio. Robert, thank you very much indeed for your time. So,
morning to the viewers.
These services remain suspended. Just talk to us about the latest incidents.
Yes, we have seen an escalation in terms of the number of incidents where paramedics and firefighters are attacked while they are rendering this very important essential service. On Wednesday, we had an incident in Dobsonville where two of our paramedics were attacked. They were actually held at gunpoint. They were attacked. Their belongings were taken. And later on during the day, there was a call which was requested for a fire incident there. When our fire engine went in there, they were also attacked. So we were forced to withdraw on that incident. And unfortunately, yesterday morning in Cosmo City, there was an incident where one member of the community there was attacked. And then the communities there called us to come and attend to him. While we were attending to him, the residents or the community members in the area of Cosmo City Extension 2, they were not happy with us assisting that patient because they believe that he is responsible for the death of somebody who lost his life in the area.
Right.
So they started attacking the ambulance crews, and then also they actually damaged the ambulance in the process.
Who makes these decisions, Robert, and how are these decisions made in order to suspend the service when you weigh up the needs of the community versus the protection and the safety of the emergency personnel?
Yeah, you know, our decision came in about because we have seen in terms of the number, we have done, you know, our utmost best to engage with our communities, you know, taking advantage of community meetings where we pleading with our communities to protect us. But we have seen that, you know, it's not happening. And, you know, the worst part on this incident of Cosmo City, you know, law enforcement officers were there when the communities were attacking, you know, the paramedics and also damaging the ambulance. So we feel that we need to have a serious discussions with our communities whether, you know, they still want us to rent, because you cannot compromise the safety of emergency services person if we know that their safety is not guaranteed. Hence, we say that for now, the services will be outside the area. So it means that they will have to take their patients outside of Cosmo City, whereby other ambulances from other areas can be able to you know, render that service. But we are not going to be doing our normal door-to-door, you know, services which we normally do under normal circumstances.
Okay, so help me understand this now, and that might not always be practical if somebody is in an emergency situation.
Yes.
What happens to the community now who have legitimate cases and legitimate emergency?
Yeah, for now, we are sorry about you know, the disruptions of the services in the area. But however, we'll be engaging with all the stakeholders, the residents, and also the community leaders in the area to find out whether we can find a solution. But the solution is one: we need them to look after us so that we can be able to look after them. If our safety is not guaranteed, we cannot continue. You know, because the very same residents will be complaining that there's a shortage of ambulances. That ambulance will be out in a workshop being repaired. We don't know for how long. And then what is it that we're supposed to use? I mean, this ambulance which is damaged, it's one of the 42 ambulances which the mayor just handed over last week to the community of Cosmo City. So you can just imagine. And already we have got shortages in terms of the very same resources which are being damaged. So we're saying our residents need to make sure that they look after the resources which is being provided by the city, and of course look after us so that we can be able to do what we understand. The nature of our work is dangerous by its nature, but we have raised up our hands to say that we want to service our residents, and we are there 24/7. So the least our communities can do is to look after us.
Well, I fully understand the issues coming from the paramedics and emergency personnel, but this issue requires urgency, isn't it? I mean, an incident can happen now as we speak.
Yes.
Who are you looking to get this guarantee from? How are you going to get this guarantee from in order to move forward?
No, you see, why are we stressing the issue of the communities are the most important stakeholder in the issue. So our residents, if the very same people who are taking us, they're not coming from somewhere else. They're within their communities.
Yeah.
Their communities must be able to identify these people, and these criminal elements must be removed in the community. Because if somebody is walking around with our equipment is not the equipment which you can just go and buy it in a spaza shop, in a nearest spaza shop. Yes. It's expensive, and you don't get it over the counter. So it's very difficult for us to, while we're trying to make sure that the resources are there for our residents, now and then we have to replace them, we have to repair them, because of, these resources are being damaged by the very same communities which are supposed to look after these resources.
Put us in the shoes of emergency personnel. Is there a heightened sense of fear now?
Exactly. It's our emergency services personnel, you're actually working in fear now. There's a lot of panic, because they don't know what's going to happen when you don't know what's going to happen when you respond to that emergency. And in most of the emergencies we don't only respond to emergencies only during the day, throughout, 24/7. So you don't know what's going to happen when you get there. Yeah. You might get there, but you don't know whether you're going to be able to come back. So it's really creating that fear. And also, over and above that, it's actually creating, disrupting service delivery. Because now, it means that in most of the incidences which you have to respond, we'll have to get police escort, which is not feasible.
Well, it's not sustainable.
We know, me and you, we know that we can just give you a practical example here. In the city of Johannesburg, we've got about 30 fire stations which are servicing all the residents of the city of Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Each and every station, out of these 30 stations, at least you've got more than one ambulance. So let's just take we've got one ambulance. So we've got 30 ambulances which are supposed to be escorted by one police van. So you can imagine what's going to happen. So it means that the police are not going to be able to do what they're supposed to do. So hence we're saying that we cannot afford to situations where we every time when we respond to incidents we are being attacked. Somebody says to Mulaudzi, maybe it's time that now maybe you must carry firearms to work and things like that. We can't do that.
Why not?
Because when we respond to emergencies, we are not going to be able to use that firearm.
100%.
And of course, again, we'll be contradicting ourselves. We are not a law enforcement agency. We're an emergency services. So our residents need to understand that there are law enforcement agencies who are supposed to do our work. We do emergency services. When we get to an incident, when are we going to get time to use that firearm? I mean, the very same residents which we're talking about here, they're actually attacking the very same police officers. As I said earlier on, that in that incident, they were there. Yeah. So how do we render our service?
Look, no doubt there needs to be a long-term solution to this. But in the interim, in order to get your services to the communities, what about private security companies that will accompany you guys at this stage?
In the communities, the issues we are actually raising now, we actually looked at them. Sorry about that. We are actually using the opportunity of like your state committee, your CPF in the communities, the private companies you have raised now. So we're saying all these issues, if you look at it, if the communities are working with us, we wouldn't even have to come to that situation. Just like the previous weekend, we were in Slovoville, in one of the informal settlements in the city of Johannesburg, where we're engaging with our communities. Some of the community members are not happy with what is happening because they feel that they are the ones who are going to be affected. I mean, what do you say to an old lady who's sitting somewhere in deep slot who need our service? Yeah, because now the emergency services personnel in deep slot, they might feel that, when we get these emergencies, if you are not guaranteeing our safety, we can't go there. And there will be the issues will be right, because you can't take a chance to say that you must go there, whereas you don't know that their safety is guaranteed.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand the root of this problem. Where did this animus between the community and emergency personnel originate from? Did something trigger it, or was it always there?
No, it's lately. I don't know what's happening, because I've got like about 20 years in the service. I've been working within the service for about 20 years, actually all my life. I knew that our residents, used to look after us, used to protect us when we were doing, rendering this most important essential service. But I don't know what's happening. It's because maybe the crime rate we have now in our communities, in most of the communities which we render the service, it's mostly, our residents mostly who are much more poorer than the other residents. I don't know. That's that situation to continue assume. But we see that in most of the areas which are much more we are much more vulnerable, areas which are mostly informal, there's poor lighting, and in most of these incidences we get them late at night or early hours of the morning. So these criminal elements will always take advantage of us. Hence, maybe somebody whispered to my ear to say, maybe Mulaudzi is the time for you to carry those firearms, of which that one is a no. We don't even want to start talking about it, because those firearms, they might actually be used for other things. Exactly.
Look, the emergency personnel, from what my understanding is, you're going there with the mindset of helping.
Exactly.
And you don't want to now, start defending yourself when you're there to help. You've now set a precedence where you suspended services due to safety concerns. Is this going to happen in other areas where you feel unsafe?
Yes, this is what is going to happen if we feel that, because if you go to your archives now, you just we make a practical example. You go to your archives as the SABC and you look at the interviews you have conducted only with me, not with my other colleague. I don't know how many interviews. And we're talking about the very same thing. The very same issue, to say we're pleading with our residents to look after us, but it's not happening. So I think we think that this situation, if it continues, we'll have to suspend the services. Maybe when we engage with the relevant stakeholders within the community of Cosmo City, they will be able to guarantee us our safety, and then we'll continue. Because we're there. We're there 24 hours. So it's not like we're not there. We're there. We're just waiting for them to guarantee our safety, and then we do what we do best, rendering this very important essential service.
Since you announced the suspension, what's been the response from the community?
No, some, of course, communities members are not happy about, because you'll see, within the communities there will be different members of the community. They're not happy with their community, but we're saying as long as our safety is not guaranteed, we'll have to, continue with the suspension of the service. But we're hoping that we'll find a solution sometime next week. We should be resuming with our services.
Have you had any reaction from any of the unions?
No, so far no. We haven't.
No reactions from any of the unions involved.
Yes.
All right, Robert. Thank you very much indeed for your time. I wish you all the best, and hopefully that a plausible solution will be found here to put paid to these attacks. Paramedics are no doubt doing a sterling job in order to try and provide these services. But when you get this pushback from certain elements, then it just makes life so difficult. So, all the best to you. Thank you very much indeed for coming through and explaining to us the situation on the ground. Robert Mulaudzi, Emergency Services spokesperson. We're going to take a quick break. More news next.